Chapter 1125. Name, Yi Chun. Rank, Major Commander. Killed 2,430 enemies. 1 Commander, 6 Major Commanders, 18 Minor Commanders, 66 Centurions, 420 high-grade soldiers, 735 middle-grade soldiers, and 1,184 low-grade soldiers. Killed 2 Commanders, 11 Major Generals, 29 Minor Generals, 109 Centurions, 710 high-ranking soldiers, 1,200 middle-ranking soldiers, and 1,919 low-ranking soldiers. You may be promoted to Commander. Military contribution points, 2,083 million. Individual contribution points, 5 stars. Average contribution points, 5 stars. Yi Chun's battle record could be said to be perfect, but the entire team's battle record was somewhat terrible. The team had 50,000 people, but they had lost 26,885 people and killed 31,200 enemies. If the team had a small number of people, they could allow the number of enemies killed to be less than the number of losses. However, if the team had a large number of people, it was not allowed, not to mention 50,000 people. Under normal circumstances, for a team of 50,000 people, losing more than 5,000 people was considered a lot. Controlling the losses to be below 3,000 was considered excellent. Of course, if they encountered an enemy team of 50,000 people, it would be an exception. In such circumstances, losing 20 to 30,000 people was normal. No matter what, the Snow Air Emperor was the commander of this team. Losing so many soldiers, she would inevitably have to bear some responsibility. As for what responsibility, Yi Chun did not know. The commander badge was purple, noble and domineering. Right now, Yi Chun had 3 badges, 1 for a low-grade soldier, 1 for a major commander, and 1 for a commander, all of which belonged to him. Golden Armor Planet's Master City, Golden Armor City. I'm sorry, but you need to become a purple gold commander or general to be able to purchase an Emperor-grade battleship. A middle-aged king wearing a major commander badge on his right chest said with regret. Below Emperor-grade battleship, one could purchase it as long as one had enough source stones. However, Emperor-grade battleships were controlled products, and source stones were not enough. One's military rank also needed to be high enough. Strictly speaking, only generals had the qualifications to purchase them. Purple gold commanders were an exception. After all, there were only about 50 purple gold commanders in the entire human race. How can I become a purple gold commander? Yi Chun asked. You only need to leave a mark on the Emperor Scar Steel to become a purple gold commander. Emperor Scar Steel. Yi Chun was not unfamiliar with this thing. Elysium had an Emperor Scar Steel, but Elysium's Emperor Scar Steel was far inferior to the real Emperor Scar Steel. Before leaving Elysium, Yi Chun was able to leave a mark on it. Under the guidance of several staff members, Yi Chun arrived at the Emperor Scar Steel testing area. You have 3 chances. As long as you can leave a mark on the Emperor Scar Steel once, you can become a noble purple gold commander. Your treatment won't be any weaker than that of a general. In terms of prestige, a purple gold commander wouldn't be inferior to a general. Another female lieutenant said. Purple gold commanders are divided into 5 stars. The lowest is a 1-star purple gold commander, followed by 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, and the highest is a 5-star purple gold commander. Although no matter what commander you are, your military rank is the same, and you can't tell from your appearance, there is still a big difference in treatment. For example, a 1-star purple gold commander can only buy the lowest quality Emperor-grade warship, and it will be a small one. A 2-star purple gold commander can buy a slightly better quality small and medium Emperor-grade warship. As for a 3-star purple gold commander, there is no restriction. As long as you have enough source stones, you can buy any Emperor-grade warship. Yi Chun nodded. The other party had said so much because the higher the status, the better the treatment. In terms of military rank, an ordinary commander would be the same as a purple gold commander. A 1-star purple gold commander would also be the same as a 5-star purple gold commander. However, the treatment would be different. If one wanted to obtain better treatment, they would have to fight for these unseen honors. Start the test. We will judge your purple gold commander rank according to the depth of the mark. There were 3 major lieutenants and 5 minor lieutenants watching from the side. Nodding his head, Yi Chen looked at the 3 meters tall Emperor Scar Steel. Without using the 3 flowers borrowing Dao, Yi Chen pulled out the Dragon Spring Sword and slashed at the Emperor Scar Steel with the True Inferno Sword. Puff! Bang! 2 sounds came from the Emperor Scar Steel. One was the clear impact, and the other was the back impact. What a strong back impact! One of the lieutenants looked at the mark. The mark was scorched black, and it was 9 inches deep. 2 star. 2 star. 2 star. Everyone reported their data. Do we still want to continue the test? Yi Chen's current data was 2 stars. In other words, Yi Chen was already a 2-star purple gold commander. He was only missing a purple gold commander badge. Let's try again. This time, Yi Chen used the 3 flowers borrowing Dao. The powerful essence Qi and Soul doubled his battle power. The Emperor Scar Steel didn't have any restrictions. Battle secret techniques were also a part of one's strength. In comparison, the Selfless Emperor realm increased one's battle power even more. In this aspect, Yi Chen was at a disadvantage. Raising the Dragon Spring Sword high, Yi Chen slashed at the Emperor Scar Steel. Puff! An intense sword Qi slashed at the Emperor Scar Steel. That trace of black made one's heart palpitate. The mark is 5 inches deep. 3 stars. 3 stars. 3 stars. Congratulations. Among the 50 purple gold rank commanders, there are only 5 3-star purple gold rank commanders, including you. Yi Chen's strength made them understand that this person's future would be glorious. After all, he had such strength even before reaching Life and Death Realm. Once he reached Life and Death Realm, he would be invincible within the same realm. No, he would be able to surpass realms to battle. The purple gold commander badge was purple gold in color and had a star pattern on it. 1 star represented a 1-star purple gold commander, and 3 stars represented a 3-star purple gold commander. The place where the army bought warships. May I ask what kind of Emperor-grade warship you need? A large one, Yi Chen said. The most ordinary large Emperor-grade warship is worth 300 million yuan stones. Since you're a 3 stars purple gold commander, you can pay half first. The remaining half can be paid in installments. If you pay in 100 years, you'll need to pay 2 million per year. If you pay in 500 years, you'll need to pay 700,000 per year. If you pay in 1,000 years, you'll need to pay 500,000 per year. Paying in installments was very disadvantageous for the buyer. If you pay in 100 years, half of it would be 150 million, and the remaining 100 years would be 250 million, a total of 350 million, an extra 50 million. If you pay in 500 years, 150 million plus 350 million would be 550 million, an extra 250 million. If you pay in 1,000 years, 150 million plus 550 million would be 650 million, an extra 350 million. Of course, the army also had to bear a huge risk. After all, if you died, these yuan stones would be wasted. But seriously speaking, there were very few people who could afford an Emperor-grade warship. Even the most ordinary small Emperor-grade warship would cost 30 million yuan stones. How could an ordinary person have so much wealth? Even an ordinary general might not have it. Not to mention a large Emperor-grade warship with 300 million and above. There were not many people who could afford it. If not for the unexpected yuan stone pond, Yi Chen would have to struggle for decades, or even centuries to obtain such wealth. Don't worry about it. I'll pay in one go, but I want the best large Emperor-grade warship. If he wanted to buy, he would buy the best. Chapter 1126. One-time payment? The best large Emperor-grade battleship? The other party was inwardly shocked at Yi Chen's wealth. In fact, the fact that Yi Chen could pay 150 million yuan stones was already shocking enough. It should be known that even the future successor of a first-grade or second-grade faction wouldn't have several hundred million yuan stones, unless they were an 8th-layer life and death expert. However, Yi Chen was only a 3-star purple gold commander. There aren't many peak large Emperor-grade battleships. Their price is between 500 million and 600 million yuan stones. There was no such thing as the best. Peak Emperor-grade battleships had their own advantages. The more expensive one was not necessarily the best. Perhaps one wouldn't like this advantage. Take me to see it, Yi Chen said. All right. The other party nodded and led Yi Chen into the interior of the building. The interior of the building was extremely spacious, exceeding 20 li in length and width. Hundreds of Emperor-grade battleships were parked here. The outer perimeter was filled with small battleships, the middle was filled with medium battleships, and the core was filled with large battleships, numbering only 30 in total. The Golden Armored Star has a total of 33 large Emperor-grade warships, and 4 of them are the best of the best. This one is called the Golden Cutlass, and its material is equivalent to a high-grade defensive artifact. It is indestructible and can easily penetrate through a non-life planet with a diameter of several 100,000 li. Its defensive barrier can withstand the continuous attacks of a mid-grade combat emperor, and is worth 500 million yuan stones. The Rottenwood warship is slightly inferior to the Golden Cutlass, but its defensive barrier is very strong and can withstand the continuous attacks of a high-grade combat emperor, and is worth 520 million yuan stones. The Shadowless warship has a weaker defensive barrier, but it can conceal itself and is hard to detect with just one soul power, and is worth 550 million yuan stones. The Dijiang-class warship is not inferior to the Golden Cutlass, and its defensive barrier is better than the Rottenwood warship. The other party introduced the 4 peak Emperor-grade battleships, one by one. Can I buy 2 of them? Yi Chen took a fancy to the Dijiang battleship, but he also felt that the Shadowless battleship was very interesting. Sorry, I can't do that. Purchasing an Emperor-grade battleship will be recorded. Each person can only buy 1 large Emperor-grade battleship. So it's like that. In that case, pick a peak small Emperor-grade battleship for me. Usually, when there were few people or traveling alone, it was more convenient to use a small Emperor-grade battleship. In any case, small Emperor-grade battleships weren't worth that many yuan stones. All right. The other party nodded and led the way. He was no longer surprised. Yi Chen had already spent 600 million source stones. Why would he care about a few million source stones? In his opinion, Yi Chen should have found a treasure trove in the starry skies. He had so much wealth that he had nowhere to go. Seeing how Yi Chen could easily spend 600 to 700 million source stones, Yi Chen's wealth should have exceeded 1 billion. The small Emperor-ranked battleship that Yi Chen had chosen was called Phantom Shadow, and it was worth 70 million primal stones. Its defensive barrier could withstand continuous attacks from high-level combat emperors. Other than being 100 times smaller, it was not much worse than Dijianghao. The treatment of a 3-star purple gold commander wasn't just about being able to purchase an Emperor-class battleship. The greatest treatment was that one could fulfill the requirements of a city lord. In fact, a 1-star purple gold commander could fulfill the requirements. In other words, Yi Chen, who had become a 3-star purple gold commander, could become a city lord on one of the 4 major life-star domains. A city lord was not only an honor, but also a symbol of wealth. The annual tax revenue of a city was quite astonishing. As long as one became a city lord, one could obtain a large amount of source stones without doing anything. Apart from this, the city lord position could also be inherited. After the death of the first city lord, his descendant or a designated person would inherit the position. Within 10,000 years, no one would have the right to take back the city. However, after 10,000 years, if no one could become a purple gold commander or reach the 7th layer of life and death realm, the city would be confiscated. For example, the current city lord of Blue Leaf City was the Blue Leaf clan's patriarch, and this city lord position was inherited by him. It had been several thousand years, and there were still 5,000 to 6,000 years before the deadline. During this time, as long as Lan Xian could reach the 7th layer of life and death realm, she could inherit the city lord position and become the city lord of Blue Leaf City. A Life Star city had 2 grades, ordinary city and main city. On the other hand, Life Stars had 10 grades from lowest to highest grade, Grade 1 Life Star, Grade 2 Life Star, and Grade 9 Life Star. Firebird Star was a Grade 2 Life Star. The treatment of a 3-star Purple Gold Commander was that he could choose any main city on a Grade 3 Life Star as his territory. Of course, one could not just casually own a city. To become the city lord of a Grade 3 Life Star's main city, Yi Chen first had to pay 300 million source stones to the upper echelons. He didn't have to pay it all at once, and could pay it in installments. Then, every year, 30% of the tax would go to the upper echelons, and the remaining 70% would go to him. However, this was a huge temptation for anyone. After all, even if one didn't think for oneself, one had to think for one's descendants. With a city, even if one's descendants didn't live up to expectations, they would still be able to enjoy glory for 10,000 years. Yi Chen didn't have much interest in the position of city lord, but he knew the importance of a city. With a city, it would be much easier for the Falling Dust Sword sect to take root in the 4 major life star fields. They could definitely become one of the overlords of this life star field. There are a total of 702 level 3 life-bearing planets in the 4 major life-bearing starfields. There are 7,200 main cities and 1,345 empty city lords. There are 350 in the Azure Dragon starfield, 380 in the White Tiger starfield, 320 in the Vermilion Bird starfield, and 295 in the Black Tortoise starfield. Which starfield do you want to choose? At the City Lord's registration office, a female king with a commander badge on her right chest asked. The Vermilion Bird starfield. Yi Chen thought for a while and replied, since you are a 3-star Purple Gold Commander, you can choose the best Grade 3 Life Star and the best main city. I have listed 10 of the best main cities for you. You can choose any one of them as your territory. A 3-star Purple Gold Commander was too honorable. Even more honorable than a 3-star general. After all, in the entire human race, there were only 5 3-star Purple Gold Commanders, but 3-star generals were far more than that. Yi Chen looked through the list. These 10 main cities were indeed very good. Not only were the Grade 3 life stars large, but they also had a high population. Their taxes were also the highest among all the main cities. In the end, Yi Chen chose Fiery Flower City. Fiery Flower City was one of the main cities of the Vermilion Bird Starfield's Flame Starfield. Its annual tax revenue was as high as 5 million yuan stones, and the main city's population was 2 billion. Of course, Fiery Flower City wasn't just a city. The surrounding several million li were all part of Fiery Flower City's territory. These several million li radius included many ordinary cities, towns, and small towns. With Fiery Flower City, Yi Chen could appoint his own people as the city lord of the surrounding cities, as well as the town mayor. If the Flame Star Field was a kingdom, then Yi Chen was a warlord. If the Flame Star Field was a continent, then Yi Chen was the emperor of a country, possessing immense power. In short, from now on, Yi Chen could be considered to have his own foundation, no longer a rootless duckweed. Chapter 1127. After paying 300 million yuan stones in one go, Yi Chen obtained a City Lord's Command Token. This token itself was a Heavenly King grade weapon, and was hard to destroy. It was useless to Yi Chen, but after Yi Chen's death, it would be the only proof for Yi Chen's descendants to inherit the City Lord's position. Losing it would be very troublesome. With the token, Yi Chen officially became the City Lord of Flame City. The upper echelons of the human race would come to collect taxes once every 100 years. Doing it once a year was too troublesome. Flame Star was located in the southeast of Vermilion Bird Starfield. It was a red planet with a diameter of 45 million li. There weren't many places suitable for human habitation on Flame Star, occupying less than 20% of the planet's surface area. However, it was rich in metal and fire attribute energy ores. Every day, many puppet battleships would come to transport metal and energy ores. Flame Star had 2 continents suitable for human habitation: the Southern Hemisphere's Fire Cloud Continent and the Northern Hemisphere's Fire Crystal Continent. Fire Cloud Continent had 4 main cities, while Fire Crystal Continent had 5. Yi Chen's Flame City was on Fire Crystal Continent. As one of the main cities, Flame Flower City was shrouded in countless arrays and restrictions. These arrays and restrictions were extremely ancient, having existed for more than 10 million years. Every year, the consumption of yuan stones to maintain the arrays was estimated to be in the tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands. Of course, Flame City's annual tax revenue was around 5 million yuan stones. Adding other income, it shouldn't be a problem to raise 7 to 8 million yuan stones. The cost of maintaining the arrays was only a fraction of the total. After all, the arrays could automatically absorb the yuan qi of the heaven and earth. The Flame City Lord Mansion occupied a vast area, like a city within a city. In a luxurious courtyard of the mansion, the acting city lord, Iron Water King, was in a good mood. He smiled evilly at the beautiful woman in front of him, unable to move. This beautiful woman was also a king, and her cultivation base was not low. She had reached the 5th heavenly layer of life and death realm. Logically speaking, 5th heavenly layer life and death realm experts were already at the level of great experts. However, at this moment, she was unable to move, as if under some kind of restriction. Rose King, you didn't expect to fall into my hands, did you? Iron King looked at the hot body of the Rose King, and his eyes flashed with passion. Of course, the most attractive thing about the Rose King was her temperament, which was more important than her appearance and body. It should be known that on Flame Star, the Rose King was undoubtedly the most beautiful king, and she was also the leader of the Rose family. Iron Water King, you despicable bastard. My Rose family is a big family in the Flame Star. Aren't you afraid that your ugly behavior will be spread out and made the whole world laugh at you? Rose King's face was full of anger. Iron Water King had wanted to make her his woman many years ago, but she had not agreed to it. Unexpectedly, Iron Water King had sent the Scarlet Fire Gang's 4 protectors to capture her. How lawless! This is a world where only the strong are respected. No one will choose to oppose me for your sake. In any case, I'm the substitute city lord of Flame City. Who would dare to do anything to me? As for you, I suspect that you've killed people in Flame Flower City. Now, I'm going to interrogate you. Iron Water King's family had once been glorious. Flame City had been passed down by the old ancestor. However, ever since the death of the old ancestor, a 7th layer life and death king hadn't appeared in the family for 10,000 years. Since there were a lot of empty main cities, and they couldn't lack management, the upper echelons of the human race allowed Iron Water King to become the substitute city lord of Flame Flower City. Only when the real city lord took office would he abdicate. By now, Iron Water King had been the city lord of Flame Flower City for decades. Although Flame Flower City's taxes had nothing to do with the acting city lord, besides taxes, there were countless places to earn primordial stones. The 4 great families, 3 great sects, and 2 great gangs of Flame Flower City would give him a lot of primordial stones every year. Adding his own family's business, it was not an exaggeration to say that his annual income was no less than 3 million primordial stones. In the entire Flame Flower City, Iron Water King's family could be said to cover the sky with one hand. Which of the 9 great powers didn't have to pay attention to his mood? He only needed to tell the Scarlet Fire Gang's leader that he was interested in Rose King, and the gang's leader immediately dispatched 4 protectors to secretly capture Rose King. You're only a substitute city lord. One day, someone will come and replace you. At that time, your family will also turn into ashes. How could Rose King not know that this was a world where only the strong were respected? She had already accepted her fate. However, one day, she would take revenge. Humph. My nephew is currently breaking through to the 7th layer of life and death realm. Once he succeeds, this Flame Flower City will belong to my family once again. As for someone coming to replace me, I'm not afraid. My family has been passed down from my ancestor. He knows a lot of old friends, and the descendants of his old friends are also many experts. If the new city lord is a bit more obedient, he might be able to keep his position. Otherwise, he won't be able to bear the consequences. Iron Water King wasn't worried about his family in the slightest. There were many titled monarchs who were on good terms with his family. Although they weren't on Flame Star, he could still send someone to warn the other party. So this is Flame Flower City. It's flourishing indeed. Walking on the incomparably spacious street, and watching the stream of people coming and going, even with his tranquil state of mind, he couldn't help but feel a ripple in his heart. From today onwards, Sparkle City's 2 billion population, as well as the tens of billions in Inferno Flower City's territory, were all under his control. He was the king here, and the rules were up to him. With Falling Dust Sword sect taking root here, he wouldn't have to worry about its future development. Of course, Yichen would set up a sect rule to prevent people of other sects from causing a ruckus here. In the end, this is a world where the weak are prey to the strong. Yichen sighed with emotion. If he weren't a 3-star purple gold commander, he wouldn't have been valued by the upper echelons of human race, and he wouldn't have the power to decide the life and death of several billion people. I've arrived at the City Lord's mansion. Yichen arrived at the entrance of the mansion and stopped. This is the City Lord's mansion. Why haven't you left yet? The guards of the mansion ignored the fact that Yichen was a 5th-layer life and death expert, and furiously shouted. Yichen sneered and took out the City Lord's command token. I'm Flame City's City Lord starting today. Flame City's City Lord? The guards were a bit confused. Didn't Flame City already have a City Lord? How could they know that Iron Water King was only a substitute City Lord? Wait here. I'll go in and inform them. Iron Water King and his family's prestige was too deep, so the guards still didn't dare to let Yichen in. No need to go through so much trouble. Yichen waved his hand, and 2 rows of guards fell to the ground. Yichen walked straight in. Who dares to cause trouble in the City Lord's mansion? Do you want to die? The City Lord's mansion was huge. Yichen had only walked a few thousand meters when he was surrounded by a group of Iron Water King family's experts. The whole mansion was the Iron Water King family's lair. Yichen looked around and took out the City Lord's command token. City Lord's command token. The Iron Water King family's people all knew that Iron Water King was the substitute City Lord, not the real City Lord. So it's the new City Lord. My apologies, I was disrespectful just now. A person who seemed to be in charge of the Iron Water King family walked over with a smile and cupped his fists. Yichen said indifferently, Where's the substitute City Lord? The substitute City Lord is busy. Why don't you come back in a few months? You shouldn't be in a hurry, right? The person said with a smile. Chapter 1128. Yichen raised his eyebrows. These people had been abusing themselves for so long that they couldn't even tell who was the master and who was the commoner. He didn't bother to be polite and said coldly, Unrelated people, get out of the City Lord's mansion. Anyone who disobeys will be killed on the spot. Don't make life difficult for yourself. He had already found the substitute City Lord's location. He was indeed working. This isn't appropriate. The man's brows creased, and his face turned gloomy. Pung! Yichen clenched his left hand into a fist and punched the opponent's body. The powerful fist energy superimposed twice, double stacks, spurting out blood. This man was also a 5th-layer life and death realm existence. However, in front of Yichen, he wasn't even as good as a chick. His vision blurred, and the next moment, his chest felt like it had been struck by lightning. His body involuntarily flew out of the mansion and landed heavily on the street. One more word, and all of you leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Yichen's eyes swept over the rest. He wasn't joking with these people. If they really didn't listen to his orders, then there was no harm in killing them. Go! Seeing Yichen attack without the slightest frown, these people knew that he was not a pushover. If they continued to defy him, they would most likely be killed. Swish! His figure flickered, and Yichen instantly arrived at Iron Water King's luxurious courtyard. Who's there? Sensing someone's arrival, Iron Water King promptly turned around. You're the substitute City Lord? Yichen asked. Letting go of Rose King, Iron Water King tidied up his clothes and slowly turned around. Squinting his eyes, he said, Who are you? What business do you have with me? Taking out the City Lord's token, Yichen said, You don't need me to say much, right? Iron Water King's face turned extremely ugly. There were so many empty cities, so why did the other party choose Fiery Flower City? Moreover, he had taken up the position so quickly. Once he lost the status of substitute city lord, he would no longer be able to shake the world like before. Most importantly, his clan's annual income would sharply decline. Name your price. I can pay you a large sum of primordial stones as long as you give up Sparkle City and choose another main city, the Iron Water King said in a low voice. Yichen smiled. No need. I like it here. Aren't you going to consider it? Source stones are not a problem. Of course, don't take me for a fool. Coupled with the reign of the great ancestor, the Taishui King family had been in Inferno Flower City for 70 to 80,000 years. The wealth accumulated over the past 70 to 80,000 years was amazing. Not tens of billions but billions. Of course, his bottom line was 500 million. Anything more than that was out of the question. I don't lack primal stones, so there's no need to think about it. Alright, you can leave the city lord's mansion now. Remember, bring all of your people out. I don't keep any random people here. Yichen said without hesitation. A trace of anger flashed in the Ironwater King's eyes, but a smile appeared on his face. Hee, I was just joking. It is my honor and my family's honor that you chose Fiery Flower City. However, you are new here, so it must be very difficult for you to manage such a big city. If you don't mind, I can help you. In his opinion, Yichen should not have time to manage a city. With him, the family would not suffer any loss, and he could still shake the world. It was like killing two birds with one stone. In the end, he could save a large sum of primordial stones. Don't listen to him. His family has colluded with the Nine Forces and made a lot of exorbitant taxes to divide the benefits of the people of Fiery Flower City. The people here are angry, but dare not say anything. Many small families have even decided to move out of Fiery Flower City. The Rose King looked very embarrassed. His shirt was torn in half, exposing a white towering breast with a bright red tip. Shut up, the Ironwater King shouted. You can leave now. Yichen did not intend to keep the Ironwater King. If a new regime was to be born, the old regime must be destroyed, just like the change of dynasties in ancient times. Therefore, keeping the Ironwater King and his family was equivalent to blinding his eyes, so that he could not see what was happening in Fiery Flower City. Okay, I will leave. The Ironwater King looked calm. He reached out to grab the Rose King and take her out of the city lord residence. It is you who will leave, not her. She is mine. The Ironwater King suppressed his anger. Everything in the city lord residence is mine. You are already in the past. Don't go too far. The Ironwater King's eyes turned red. It seems that you really think you are something. The sword light flashed, and the Ironwater King's head flew high. The powerful destruction sword intent combined with the strands of sword chi destroyed the Ironwater King's vitality and the soul imprint in his flesh. His face was full of disbelief. After all, he was the acting city lord, and the opponent had killed him directly. He thought that his foundation was powerful enough and should be taken seriously. However, he had forgotten one thing. This world was a world where the strong ruled, and the weak were prey to the strong. In Flameflower City, Yichen was a powerful warrior, and he was merely a weakling. Perhaps he was very powerful in front of others. I am not willing. The Ironwater King's voice stopped. You killed him? The Rose King looked at Yichen with a bit of fear. I have killed a lot of people. He is just one of them. Yichen did not put the Ironwater King in his eyes. If he killed him, then so be it. He could only blame the other for not knowing when to stop. His eyes scanned the Rose King's body. Soon, Yichen found a Zhen Yuan lock on the Rose King's body. It was this lock that had locked the Rose King's Zhen Yuan. Puff! With the point of his finger, the Zhen Yuan lock was broken. The Rose King stood up and hurriedly put on a new set of clothes to cover his half-naked body. Thank you. Taking a deep breath, the Rose King thanked him. You are from this planet? Yichen asked. The Rose King said, yes, my family is in Fiery Flame City. It can be considered the #1 family here. Fiery Flame City seems to be under my jurisdiction? The Flameflower City, as well as the 5 million miles around it, were all under his jurisdiction. The Starfire City was one of the 21 normal cities in the Flameflower City. There were 2 continents and 9 main cities in the whole Flameflower City, with each main city managing 10 to 20 normal cities. Of course, some of the normal cities were independent cities that were not under the control of any main city. Those were the cities that were built later. Most of the 1-star and 2-star generals did not have the same treatment as the purple gold rank commanders, so they could only choose the independent normal cities as their own territories. The 3-star purple gold rank commanders had the same treatment as the 5-star generals. My name is Yuzime. I wonder what the city lord's name is? The Rose King felt that the opportunity was right in front of her. She planned to build a good relationship with Yi Chen, no matter what, to prepare for the future of her family. Yi Chen did not wait for the other to speak. My family will move to Fiery Flame City after a while. If you don't mind, you can help me manage Fiery Flame City. I don't mind. It would be my honor. The Rose King was very excited. Chapter 1129. City Lord. Zhao family has deep roots in the city. They have hundreds of life and death kings. And Iron Water King's nephew is already a commander. Rumor has it that he's breaking through to the 7th layer. Moreover, Zhao family has a close relationship with many powerful families of other planets. A few years ago, several titled monarchs visited Zhao family as guests. Their relationship seems to be not ordinary. You killing Iron Water King will bring you a lot of trouble. Iron Water King was surnamed Zhao, and he was the patriarch of Zhao family. Rose King felt the need to warn Yi Chen, lest he become too passive. Trouble? Yi Chen shook his head indifferently. Without reaching his realm, one simply couldn't understand the gap between a 3-star purple gold commander and an ordinary king. Take Iron Water King as an example. Yi Chen was at the 5th layer, while his opponent was at the 6th layer. However, Yi Chen's battle strength was at least 1,000 times higher than his. His opponent's martial skills were probably hovering between the 1st and 2nd layer, while Yi Chen already had 3 peak 3rd layer sword arts. If Yi Chen wanted to kill, he could completely annihilate the entire Zhao family in a short period of time. It was only a matter of whether he wanted to or not. As for titled monarchs, they were indeed not a small threat. However, for Yi Chen they were merely a threat. He didn't believe that Zhao family could invite an 8th layer life and death monarch. If they could invite such a monarch, they could completely protect Sparkle City, and the current situation wouldn't have happened. Not every 7th layer life and death monarch had the strength of Snow Air Emperor. The majority of them were ordinary monarchs, equivalent to low-level or mid-level battle emperors. It was true that the Rose King did not know how strong a 3-star purple gold rank commander was. The difference between them was too big, so big that it could not be accurately estimated. It was just like how a newborn baby would not know how strong an adult was. In their eyes, all adults were very strong. Seeing that Yi Chen didn't seem to care, Rose King felt somewhat relieved. Since he didn't care, he must have something to rely on. City Lord, you've just arrived, so the city guards and Sparkle Army certainly don't know you. I feel that we should gather the middle and high-level officers of the 2 armies in a short period of time. The Rose King suggested. Yi Chen nodded. There were 2 large armies in Sparkle City. One was the City Guard, and the other was the Sparkle Army. The City Guards were responsible for patrolling the main city, maintaining the order and prosperity of the main city. There were 1 million of them, consisting of Life and Death Realm Warriors, Sea of Souls Realm Warriors, and Astral Reaching Realm Warriors. Astral Reaching Realm Warriors were the most common soldiers, while Sea of Souls Realm Warriors were the lowest level military officers, such as team leaders, squad leaders, and team leaders. Life and Death Realm Warriors were the middle and high-level military officers, such as team leaders, captains, and commanders. The Spark Army was responsible for patrolling the entire Flameflower City. There were more than 10 million of them, and they were also composed of Life and Death Realm Warriors, Sea of Souls Realm Warriors, and Astral Reaching Realm Warriors. The City Guard branch captains were in charge of 20 soldiers. The squad captains were in charge of 100 soldiers. The platoon captains were in charge of 500 soldiers. The senior captains were in charge of 2,000 soldiers. The branch captains were in charge of 10,000 soldiers. The colonels were in charge of 50,000 soldiers. and the major captains were in charge of the entire city guard. The Sparkle army had 10 commanders, one of whom was the overall commander. Each commander was in charge of a region. Of course, the city guards weren't limited to the main city guards. There were also city guards from ordinary cities within the borders. However, there was no need to summon these city guards for the time being. In a large manor on the west side of Flame Flower City, the upper echelons of the Zhao family were sitting in the meeting hall. An old man sat in the main seat. Everyone, I think you already know the reason for summoning you here. Right now, what we need to consider is how to stabilize the Zhao family's position. The old man was the previous patriarch of the Zhao family, Iron Leg King, and Iron Water King was his grandson. Old patriarch, this new city master might not necessarily want to attack our Zhao family, right? Aren't we worrying a bit groundless? The one speaking was Iron Leg King's great-grandson Zhao Fu. In the cosmos, apart from the first 3 generations, there was no such thing as intimacy. After all, life and death kings could live for 100,000 years. Even if it was 1 generation per 1,000 years, there should be 100 generations. In terms of seniority, they could be considered dead. But there was no need. Zhao Fu directly addressed Iron Leg King as old patriarch, and not great ancestor. Patriarch has been killed. Do you think this new city master won't attack our Zhao family? The middle-aged man beside Zhao Fu coldly snorted. Zhao Fu shook his head. Patriarch has been acting city master for dozens of years. He can't let go of his identity. As far as I'm concerned, he brought this upon himself. To be able to assume the position of city master of a third-grade life planet is not something our Zhao family can contend with. If we can't keep our identity straight, the new city master will naturally be dissatisfied. Therefore, I think Zhao family has to endure. We can't let the new city master think that our Zhao family is a scourge. Otherwise, our Zhao family will truly be finished. Iron Leg King nodded. Zhao Fu was right. The city master of a main city was indeed not something their Zhao family could contend with. Although their Zhao family had a good relationship with many powerful families, and some of these families had titled monarchs, interfering with Flame Flower City with external forces was a bad idea. The new city master was not a soft persimmon. To be able to become the city master of a main city, one had to rely on strength. Zhao Fu is right. It is not wise to go against the new city master. Zhao Meng didn't keep his identity straight, so he deserved to die. The old patriarch had many grandsons. Iron Water King Zhao Meng was only one of them. He would not be too sad. Even if he was sad, he had to look at the big picture and not risk his family's future. But our Zhao family has been in Flame Flower City for 70 to 80,000 years. Our roots are very deep. The arrival of the new city master will definitely affect our Zhao family's foundation. There is no doubt about this. How to protect our Zhao family's benefits, or even a large part of our benefits, is our biggest problem right now. Flame Flower City was equivalent to the Zhao family's base. Only here could the Zhao family earn 3 million yuan stones a year. If they moved to another planet, they might not even earn 100,000 yuan stones a year. As long as they could stay in Flame Flower City, even if their annual income was reduced by 1 or 2 times, the old patriarch would be very satisfied. He was only afraid that the new city master would deprive them of their future benefits. Zhao Fu thought for a while and said, "Old patriarch, I think we shouldn't be too idealistic. The arrival of the new city master will definitely break the current situation. In other words, it is impossible for our Zhao family to maintain our current position. After so many years, our Zhao family has accumulated a lot of wealth. Why don't we slowly develop on other planets and look for opportunities? Wait until Uncle Yang reaches the 7th sky of life and death realm and becomes a 1-star general. At that time, our Zhao family will be able to make a comeback on a rank 1 life planet. A 1-star general could obtain a main city on a rank 1 life planet as their territory. No need to go through so much trouble. Flame Flower City will still belong to our Zhao family." Right at this moment, a young man walked into the meeting hall. "Yang, you've reached the 7th sky of life and death realm?" The old patriarch's eyes shone brightly. He was at the peak of the 6th sky of life and death realm. But as soon as the young man walked in, He felt a frightening pressure. Indeed. Zhao Yang nodded. He was indeed the nephew Iron Water King had mentioned. Chapter 1130. Great, our Zhao family finally has a second titled monarch. The old patriarch, the Iron Leg King, laughed heartily with an excited expression. The other members of the Zhao family were also very excited. Their previous depression had been swept away. One had to know that although there were many titled monarchs in the universe, there weren't many of them. If a family could have a titled monarch, then that family would truly be considered a high-class family and would be famous for 100,000 years. On the other hand, it would only be a large local family. What a pity, the Iron Leg King said regretfully. If only it had been a little earlier. If Zhao Yang had become a titled monarch earlier, the Zhao family would have continued to inherit Sparkle City. That's right. It's very difficult to obtain Sparkle City now. Zhao Fu knew how high the status of the new city lord was. In the human army, only 3-star purple gold commanders, or 5-star generals, had the right to own a rank 3 life planet's main city. In other words, Yi Chen was either a 3-star purple gold commander, or a 5-star general. However, generals had to be titled monarchs. Since Yi Chen wasn't in monarch, he was naturally a 3-star purple gold commander. You can only gain by giving up. We can offer 1 billion yuan stones, and let him choose a new main city. Zhao Yang said, 1 billion yuan stones is too much. Even if we obtain Sparkle City, it will take us many years to earn 1 billion yuan stones. That's right, too much. I think 500 million is enough. We just need to let him choose a new main city. The discussion in the conference hall became louder. Most of them objected. Hearing the discussions, Zhao Yang sneered. If you can't even give up 1 billion yuan stones, how can you even talk about owning Sparkle City? I'm over 3,000 years old this year. After inheriting the position of Sparkle City Lord, I'll have been here for nearly 100,000 years. Everyone should know how much wealth I can accumulate in 100,000 years. In theory, occupying a rank 3 life planet's main city could accumulate several 100 billion yuan stones in 100,000 years. Of course, this was only in theory. For example, an ordinary person could earn a lot in their lifetime, but their savings were pitifully small. The distribution of the clan's wealth, nurturing the younger generation, purchasing all sorts of secret arts, dealing with unexpected situations, issuing exploration missions, befriending sovereigns. All of these required essence stones. For a clan with a level 3 life planet's main city, it was already very exaggerated for it to accumulate 100 billion essence stones over 100,000 years. Normally, it would only be several tens of billions. The stronger one was, the more essence stones they would need. The old ancestor of the Zhao family offended too many people. After he died, his enemies all wanted to take revenge on the Zhao family. The Zhao family had to spend half of the family's wealth to settle these matters. Therefore, the Zhao family's wealth was a little less, but it was still around 10 billion. 1 billion wasn't a small amount. What if 1 billion is not enough? Zhao Fu frowned. 5 billion then. Zhao Yang's bottom line was no more than 2 billion. Everyone had their own bottom line. His bottom line was 4 times that of Iron Water King. No, what I mean is that the other party might not care about the benefits in front of them. You have to know that most of the empty main cities don't seem to have city lords, but they are all occupied by large clans. If every clan wants to use essence stones to make the other party compromise, then it will be very difficult for the other party to choose a satisfactory main city. Moreover, the upper echelons of the human race will not allow them to go back on their word again and again. Zhao Fu could see this more clearly than anyone else. Zhao Yang was silent for a moment. Then he raised his head and said, "Anyway, Spark City must belong to our Zhao family." Spark City Lord Residence. The high-ranking officers of the City Guard Army arrived first. Following them, the high-ranking officers of the Spark Army also arrived in groups of 2s and 3s. At this moment, the City Lord Residence's meeting hall was overcrowded. Fortunately, this hall was large enough that nearly 1,000 people could sit inside without feeling cramped. With the new City Lord taking office, the Zhao family will probably be purged. The one who spoke was the commander of the 7th Army of the Spark Army. The 9th Army commander nodded slowly. Among the high-ranking officers of the City Guard Army and the Spark Army, the Zhao family occupies 20 to 30%. The new city lord will not allow the Zhao family to monopolize the city. The Spark Army had a total of 10 commanders. However, apart from the 7th and 9th armies, the other 8 commanders were all life and death kings of the Zhao family, or close to the Zhao family. The fact that the 2 of them could become commanders was actually the Zhao family's superficial effort. As for the City Guard Army, it was naturally under the Zhao family's control. I hope this purge won't be too big. The 9th Army commander continued. He cherished the position of commander very much. The City Guard Army and the Spark Army had a salary. Ordinary soldiers received upper-grade spirit stones. Basic officers received supreme-grade spirit stones. And middle and high-ranking officers received yuan stones. The annual salary of the Spark Army's branch officer was 300 yuan stones. The captain 1,000 yuan stones. The captain 3,000 yuan stones. And the commander 10,000 yuan stones. It did not seem like a lot, but there was basically no danger to their lives. They didn't need to explore or join the human army. As life and death kings, their lifespans were extremely long. After 10,000 years, the commander's position would definitely allow them to accumulate a net worth of tens of millions. Not to mention at their position, the additional income was not small, and they could often make a small fortune. Once they lost this position, they could only wander around like other life and death kings, or join the human army. Perhaps they could make a fortune for a while, but the risk was too high, and they could easily lose their lives. Of course, to become a commander, one had to first reach the 6th layer of life and death realm. Footsteps echoed as Yichen walked in from the side door of the hall. Behind him was Rose King. City Lord. Everybody in the hall stood up. Sweeping his gaze over everybody, Yichen waved his hand, indicating for everybody to sit down. Those who didn't come are all relieved of their duties. Yichen said to Rose King. Yes, Rose King's current status was that of a vice city lord. Everybody in the hall was startled, inwardly rejoicing that they had arrived quickly. Glancing at Rose King, Yichen said, "From now on, Rose King is the vice city lord of Sparkflower City. Seeing her is the same as seeing me. For those who disobey, I advise you to leave right now. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Rest assured, City Lord, we will certainly follow your orders." Everybody was clear that by climbing on the high branch of City Lord, Rose King and her family could be said to have skyrocketed. Who would dare to be disrespectful to Rose King? As for City Lord's means, they didn't doubt it at all. Before coming, they had already received the news that Spark Flower City's former City Lord, Zhao Clan's patriarch, Iron Water King, had been killed on the spot for disrespecting City Lord. They didn't think that their necks were tougher than Iron Water King's. Clearing his throat, the Rose King looked at the crowd and said, "The commander of the 4th Corps of the Spark Army, the 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 7th, and 9th captains of the 4th Corps are all dismissed. The commander of the 6th Corps, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th, 8th, and 9th captains of the 6th Corps are all dismissed." Spark Flower Army and City Guard Army had a total of 11 commanders. 4 of them had come, but at this moment, 2 of them had been dismissed. There were also a large number of captains, colonels, and branch captains. The 7th Army's commanders' brows twitched. The 2 dismissed commanders were the upper echelons of Scarlet Fire Gang and Sky Fire Gang. Among the 9 factions, these 2 gangs were undoubtedly Zhao Clan's lackeys. Chapter 1131. I can't accept this. We didn't do anything wrong. Why are you dismissing us? The 4th Army's commander was a big man with sideburns. People called him Copper Hammer King. He stood up and glared at Rose King. The 6th Army's commander, Flying Feather King, looked at Yichen. "City Lord, did I and Copper Hammer King do anything wrong?" Yichen said indifferently, "No." "Then why did you dismiss us? Is it because we're from Scarlet Fire Gang and Flying Fire Gang?" "Right. City Lord's actions are hard to convince the masses. I hope City Lord can retract his order. From now on, my Flying Fire Gang and Scarlet Fire Gang will wholeheartedly support you. Flying Feather King said loudly. Yi Chen coldly glanced at him. You mean that if I don't retract my order, Flying Fire Gang and Scarlet Fire Gang won't wholeheartedly support me? That's good too. In that case, there's no need for them to exist. The 9 great powers of Sparkle City are indeed a bit too much. It's time to eliminate 1 or 2. Hearing these words, Flying Feather King's complexion turned incomparably pale. He didn't expect that his words would bring a huge disaster to Flying Fire Gang and Scarlet Fire Gang. He promptly said, City Lord, I spoke without thinking just now. I hope you can forgive me. Flying Fire Gang and Scarlet Fire Gang will never have second thoughts. At this time, he no longer dared to talk about Yi Chen retracting his order. If the latter wanted to annihilate Flying Fire Gang and Scarlet Fire Gang, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. That's for the best. Go back and tell your gang leader that if you want to survive in Sparkle City, don't do anything out of line. If I catch you, you'll have to bear the consequences. He didn't mind annihilating Flying Fire Gang and Scarlet Fire Gang, but he needed a reason. Otherwise, recklessly annihilating other gangs would put everyone in danger. Yes, Flying Feather King and Copper Hammer King didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Next, Rose King dismissed many more people. These people were all life and death kings close to Zhao family. Originally, they were hidden very deeply, and ordinary people didn't know about them. However, they couldn't hide it from Rose King and her family. In the end, among the 1,300 and 400 high-ranking officers, apart from the 200 life and death kings of the Zhao family, more than 400 were relieved of their duties. It could be said to be a huge layoff. Fortunately, there were a lot of life and death realm warriors on the planet. As long as the news was sent out, there would definitely be thousands of life and death realm warriors fighting for these positions. After all, this was an iron rice bowl. If he missed this opportunity, he wouldn't get another one. City Lord, Zhao Yang of the Zhao family requests an audience. The next day, a guest arrived at the gate of the City Lord's mansion. The person who came in to report was the captain of the guards. Zhao Yang? Who is he? Yi Chen asked. Zhao Yang is the #1 expert of Zhao family. He's more than 3,000 years old this year. It's said that he reached the peak of life and death 6th layer 2,000 years ago, and even defeated a titled monarch. People call him Scorching Sun King. Invite him in. Yi Chen nodded. Soon, Zhao Yang arrived at the meeting hall. Zhao Yang was a tall young man who looked to be in his 30s. He raised his head and looked at Yi Chen, who was sitting at the head of the hall, and said, I'm the new patriarch of the Zhao family, Zhao Yang. I've come this time to discuss the matter of the Inferno Flower City. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. I've come with sincerity. All right then, tell me your sincerity. Yi Chen, on the other hand, wanted to hear the other party's sincerity. Zhao Yang's brows twitched. 1 billion. As long as you give up the Inferno Flower City and choose another main city as your territory, my Zhao family can give you 1 billion yuan stones in one go. Moreover, from now on, you'll be a friend of my Zhao family. This won't be a loss for you, but a huge profit instead. I believe that there should be a few third-grade life planets that are not inferior to the Inferno Flower City. 1 billion, indeed a big sum. Yi Chen faintly smiled. 4 ordinary life and death kings. 1 million yuan stones was already enough for them to not have to struggle with their lives on the line. After all, not everyone had high potential. For the majority of life and death kings, no matter how hard they tried, they could only linger around the 2nd or 3rd layer. 10 million yuan stones could support the development of a 4th-grade family. 100 million yuan stones could make a 3rd-grade family flourish. As for 1 billion, many people didn't even dare to think about it. Have you thought it through? Zhao Yang carefully observed Yi Chen's expression, hoping to find some clues. To tell you the truth, I don't lack yuan stones. Yi Chen didn't waver in the slightest. Faintly creasing his brows, Zhao Yang said, In this world, everything has its value. It's just a matter of how high or low it is. I believe that in your heart, the Inferno Flower City is not priceless. Indeed, the Inferno Flower City is not priceless in my heart, but your Zhao family cannot afford it. 2 billion. Zhao Yang still didn't give up. 10 billion. and the Inferno Flower City belongs to your Zhao family. Yi Chen didn't believe that the Zhao family would be willing to pay 10 billion. If they were truly willing, he would consider it. 10 billion. Even though Zhao Yang had already prepared his heart, he was still startled by Yi Chen's huge appetite. 10 billion was equivalent to the entire wealth of the Zhao family. Not to mention the other members of the family, even he himself wouldn't agree. Who knew how many years it would take for the Zhao family to earn back 10 billion, and what kind of difficulties they would encounter during this period of time? Zhao Yang didn't get angry but instead smiled. You really know how to joke. I can't accept 10 billion. It's ridiculous. As far as I'm concerned, the position of Inferno Flower City Lord is worth 10 billion. Inferno Flower Planet was a very special life planet. There were very few places suitable for human habitation, less than 20% of the planet. Although the other places were not suitable for human habitation, they were the most valuable places on the planet. Inexhaustible metal ores, fire-attributed energy stones, and fire-attributed spirit grasses were all treasures. In simpler terms, the value of a capital city of Inferno Flower Planet was not inferior to a capital city of a fifth-grade life planet. Zhao Yang's expression gradually turned gloomy. Sucking in a deep breath, he slowly said, Since you can obtain Inferno Flower City, it means that you're a 3-star purple gold commander. How about this? If I can win one move against you by luck, can you consider my condition? As long as he won, Zhao Yang didn't believe that Yi Chen would still have the face to stay in Inferno Flower City. Win one move against me? How could Yi Chen not see that Zhao Yang had already entered the 7th layer of life and death realm? He was no longer the Burning Sun King, but the Burning Sun Emperor. Having just entered the 7th layer, he was certainly full of confidence. There's no need to go through so much trouble. As long as you can block one move of mine without falling into a disadvantageous position, there's no harm in giving you Inferno Flower City, Yi Chen said. Alright, it's a deal. A prideful expression flickered in Zhao Yang's eyes. He didn't expect that Yi Chen would be so easily provoked. In fact, he didn't have the slightest bit of confidence in winning against Yi Chen. But now things were much easier. Not to mention not falling into a disadvantageous position in one move. He could even win 10 moves without falling into a disadvantageous position. Make your move. Zhao Yang's Zhenyuan erupted. His entire body seemed like a human-shaped sun, emitting boundless radiance. Chapter 1132. Before entering the 7th sky of life and death realm, Zhao Yang was known as the Burning Sun King. He was proficient in the Yang Profound, Fire Profound, and Earth Profound. According to these 3 profounds, he had created 2 extreme rank 2 martial arts, Burning Sun Palm, and Lava Exploding Fist. Although they couldn't compare to those geniuses, they were still quite good. The reason why he was so confident was not only because of his realm advantage, but also because he had created a 3rd-rank martial art, Sky Dominating Sun Fist. Back then, it was precisely this fist that had allowed him to defeat a titled monarch. Take my sun-splitting palm first. Zhao Yang's right hand emitted boundless light and heat, as if it was condensed from light. He sucked in a deep breath and threw a palm attack at Yi Chen. As this palm attack was thrown out, the entire hall became dark. It was as if it was not a human's palm, but a real sun as it shot toward Yi Chen. A titled monarch is a titled monarch after all. Anatar realm had 3 stages, and titled monarchs had surpassed the 3rd stage by condensing the monarch's mark. Strictly speaking, titled monarchs had already turned the Anatar realm into their instinct. When they attacked, they would be at their peak state. Combined with their 7th sky of life and death realm Zhenyuan, their battle power would reach an extremely frightening level. Not daring to be careless, Yi Chen instantly entered the Anatar realm and slashed out with his sword. Puff! The blazing palm energy dissipated, and light specks danced in the air. It's my turn. Block this sword, and the Flame Flower City will be yours. Holding the dragon spring sword with one hand, Yi Chen raised it high and stared at Zhao Yang. Come! Zhao Yang's eyes flickered with intense confidence. His right arm started to burn fiercely like a piece of red-hot iron. Drops of lava dripped down with sizzling sounds. The Extreme Sky Tyrannical Sun Fist was different from ordinary martial arts. The unique aspect of this martial art was that once it accumulated power, the entire arm would transform into energy. It could expand and shrink at will. This way, the attack power would be more concentrated, and there would be less wastage. As soon as Zhao Yang finished speaking, Yi Chen's attack came. If Zhao Yang's sun-splitting palm was the sun, then Yi Chen's Sun Essence Extreme could be called a white dwarf. Its power was more restrained, but it was 100 times more terrifying. The dazzling sword qi almost reached Zhao Yang in a flash. Break! Zhao Yang's right arm swelled up like the fist of a deity, striking towards the radiant sword qi. Boom! The entire city lord's mansion shook violently. The full power of 2 combat emperors was enough to destroy an ordinary planet with a diameter of a few 100,000 miles. Although the destructive power would be reduced by 1,000 times on a planet with life, it was still not to be underestimated. Under normal circumstances, it would be enough to turn a radius of a few 100 miles into a doomsday scene. Of course, as the heart of Sparkle City, the City Lord's mansion was covered in countless formations and restrictions. After destroying some of the formations, most of the energy was absorbed and converted into energy for the formation to operate. The remaining energy that could not be absorbed was crazily released through the door of the meeting hall, spewing out a dazzling pillar of light. Not good. Zhao Yang's expression changed immediately. This sword attack of Yi Chen's had reached a level of extreme yang and could destroy anything. Although his sky-piercing tyrannical sun fist was also extremely tyrannical, it paled in comparison to this sword attack. He could not block it at all. Boom! The light exploded in a fan shape, and Zhao Yang spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying into the sky by the light pillar. On his body a set light appeared. Obviously, Zhao Yang also had a low-level Heavenly King set. They were both low-level Heavenly King set, but Zhao Yang's defense was more than 10 times that of Yi Chen's. After all, their cultivation bases were 2 levels apart. Even if Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan was closer to the Sword Yuan level, which was much purer than an ordinary life and death 4th level Zhen Yuan, it would still be hard to imagine. On the other hand, if Zhao Yang did not have a low-level Heavenly King set, he would have died under this sword. The destructive power of the Sun Essence Extreme was hard to imagine without experiencing it personally. After tumbling dozens of meters in the sky, Zhao Yang finally stabilized his body. His face was ashen as he stared at Yi Chen below. With a cold snort, he turned around and left. My cultivation base is still a bit too low. Yi Chen realized that he had underestimated Zhao Yang. The latter's 3rd revolution martial skill, sky-piercing tyrannical sun fist, was hundreds of times weaker than his 3rd revolution peak sword skill, Sun Essence Extreme. However, when the two had exchanged blows just now, Yi Chen was only a few times stronger than his opponent. In other words, his opponent's cultivation base was at least 100 times stronger than Yi Chen's. Although the higher one's martial skills progressed, the more frightening their destructive power would be. Every tiny bit of improvement would be 10 times stronger. 3rd revolution martial skills and peak 3rd revolution martial skills would have a difference of 100 times, and 4th revolution martial skills would have a difference of 1,000 times. However, correspondingly, the higher one's cultivation base was, the slower one's progress would be. 3rd revolution peak sword skill was Yi Chen's limit, and it would be a long time before his sword arts would have a big improvement. Therefore, he could only focus on other aspects. The gap of 2 realms was not a small one. It was too big. Of course, 7th life and death realm Zhen Yuan was not 100 times stronger than 5th life and death realm Zhen Yuan. It was mainly because of the Emperor's mark. Therefore, Yi Chen had to either increase his cultivation base or reach an Ita realm. The former would take too long, but the latter could continue to improve. Time to return to God Paradise. Yi Chen had the intention to leave. As the deputy city lord, Rose King was very competent. In a short week, she had filled in the gap of high-ranking officers of the Flame Flower Army and city guards. Although many of them were from the Rose family, it didn't arouse Yi Chen's disgust. Nepotism was very important in consolidating one's position. She was Yi Chen's trusted aide at the moment, so nurturing her own family was not a bad thing. After settling everything, Yi Chen left Planet Flame. Returning to God Paradise, Yi Chen immediately entered the Time Tower. The first 3 postures of Hidden Dragon's secret art were Golden Rooster seeking Tao, Parting Clouds, and Suddenly Turning Head. The 4th posture was called Heaven and Earth Interweaving. This posture was related to the yin and yang within the body. When yin and yang combined, Taiji would be born. One day in the Time Tower was 100 days in the outside world. Yi Chen had learned Heaven and Earth Interweaving, and he felt the hidden potential in his body surging like a tide. The 5th posture of Hidden Dragon's secret art was Flower Pinching Instant. This posture was very difficult. It was about the combination of movement and stillness, and it even involved the principles of the universe. However, in terms of stimulating potential, it was a step further. At that moment, Yi Chen felt that the only thing left in the world was his flower-pinching hand. Everything else had disappeared. As for the 6th posture, it was a checkpoint. As long as he learned this posture, Yi Chen could be considered to have entered the palace of Hidden Dragon's secret art and excavated the true mystery of the Hidden Dragon's secret art. Hidden Dragon rises from the abyss. This was the name of the 6th posture. Crackle, crackle. Popping sounds came from Yi Chen's body continuously. The sounds extended from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. The motionless Yi Chen closed his eyes. However, in his perception, he seemed to be soaring from the depths of the dark underground. Nothing could stop him. Correspondingly, his potential was also soaring and subliming. Chapter 1133. Bang! After an unknown amount of time, Yi Chen's body suddenly emitted a silvery radiance that seemed to have materialized. Anyone familiar with Selfless Realm would know that this was the 2nd stage of Selfless Realm, Selfless Body. The 2nd stage of Selfless Realm was divided into 2 paths. One was Selfless Heavenly Eye, and the other was Selfless Body. The pupils of Selfless Heavenly Eye would be golden, while the body would emit a silvery radiance. Once one reached the Selfless Body realm, it meant that one's potential had been stimulated to the limit. One more step would be the highest realm, Selfless Emperor. This silvery radiance represented the flame of potential. The brighter the silvery radiance, the stronger the potential. Slowly opening his eyes, his black pupils were dyed a deep silver, cold and emotionless. The corners of his eyes also seemed to have become much sharper, long and narrow like blades. Yi Chen inwardly thought, worthy of the Selfless Body. The combination of Zhen Yuan and potential is like water and milk. My battle strength should have increased by about 2 folds. The first stage of Selfless Realm was not as powerful as the secret art, 3 Flower Borrowing Tao, which was about 70 to 80%. The second stage would increase it by 2 folds, and the third stage would increase it by 5 folds. As for surpassing Selfless Realm and condensing the Emperor's mark, that would be quite an exaggeration. Of course, although Yi Chen's battle strength had increased from 70 to 80%, the overall improvement was not that big. 3-star Purple Gold rank commander had the strength of a high-level combat emperor, and the gap between the most ordinary high-level combat emperor and the strongest high-level combat emperor was at least 10 folds. If Yi Chen was a mid-level high-level combat emperor before, he was now almost at the high level. There was still a long way to go before he could break through to the peak-level combat emperor realm. One had to admit that martial skills were the best way to rapidly increase one's strength. As long as one comprehended it, one's battle strength might increase by 10 or 20 folds. Without exaggeration, if one could comprehend a 5th revolution martial skill at the first layer of life and death realm, defeating a titled monarch would be as easy as waving one's hand. It should be known that a 5th revolution martial skill was more than 10,000 times more powerful than a 3rd revolution martial skill. For any martial skill, every time a profound was fused, its destructive power would increase exponentially. Moreover, the further one went, the more obvious it became. The reason why Yi Chen could possess his current strength was closely related to the 3rd revolution limit sword art. As for speeding up the progress of martial skills, one had to first raise one's cultivation base. The higher one's cultivation base was, the stronger one's perception would be. It was impossible for a 5th-layer life and death king's perception to surpass a 9th-layer life and death sovereign. It was said that every single 9th-layer life and death sovereign had comprehended a supreme martial skill. The so-called peerless martial arts were the perfect martial arts. The fusion of Upanishads was perfect. For example, life and death, 5 elements, yin and yang, time and space, earth, water, fire, wind, light and darkness. Supreme martial skills were the pinnacle of martial skills. Although a martial skill containing life and death, profound, seemed to be a second revolution martial skill on the surface, it was only on the surface. Even if one could fuse 6 kinds of Upanishads and comprehend a 6th revolution martial skill, its lethality would still be far inferior to life and death profound. Life and death profound contained too much. It had already formed a reincarnation cycle, and one's 6 kinds of Upanishads could not surpass life and death profound. Unfortunately, supreme martial arts were too hard to comprehend. Yi Chen's Yin profound and Yang profound had already reached perfection, and his 5 elements profound had also reached perfection. However, if he wanted to fuse them into a martial art, it would be as hard as ascending to the heavens. Of course, supreme martial skills also had different levels. Someone who had just comprehended a life and death profound would certainly not be able to compare with someone who had comprehended it for a long time. Talking about this was too far away. Yi Chen had just climbed a small mountain and was still far away from the summit. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 100 months had passed in the Time Tower, which was equivalent to 1 month in the outside world. Yi Chen finally learned the 7th position of Hidden Dragon Sutra. The 7th position of the Hidden Dragon art is called Soaring Dragon in the Sky. To ordinary people, this position is so rare that it makes one's hair stand on end. This position is about absolute freedom and absolute will. Although my body doesn't move, my heart is like a soaring dragon soaring into the sky, soaring through the 9 heavens. My will runs through the heaven and earth. Hidden Dragon rises from the abyss had stimulated all of his potential, while Soaring Dragon in the Sky had fermented this potential and refined it to the point of being reborn. At this point, he was merely a step away from the 3rd stage of selfless state, selfless emperor. Almost there, Yi Chen continued to comprehend the 8th position of Hidden Dragon Sutra, rebuking the wind and clouds. The dragon flew up into the sky and began to command the wind and clouds. The 8th posture was about how to unleash one's potential to the extreme and enter a mysterious state where everything in the world revolved around one. When Yi Chen was comprehending Hidden Dragon Sutra in the Time Tower, the Paradise of Gods Hotel became boisterous. There were still 3 to 4 days before the high-ranking members entered the hunting tower. Most of the high-ranking members were in the hotel, including the members of the Exorcist Squad. Thousand Arrow Monarch, are you telling the truth? Did Yi Chen kill Emo Le King? Emo Le King has the strength of a low-level combat emperor. Even a mid-level combat emperor would have a hard time killing him. Emo Le King could have easily escaped. That's right. No matter how fast Yi Chen improves, he shouldn't be this abnormal. Most of the people were still skeptical. Zhang Yimin sneered. Why would I lie to you? To tell you the truth, killing Mall King is not even worth mentioning. Right now, he is a 3-star purple gold commander. He has already chosen a 3rd-grade life planet's main city as his territory. Are you all scared out of your wits? What? 3-star purple gold commander? Killing the Mall King had already aroused many people's suspicions, but becoming a 3-star purple gold rank commander left everyone dumbfounded. In the entire Paradise of Gods, only the Sky Martial King was a 2-star purple gold commander. This time, it was said that the Vermilion Bird King and the Divine Blade King had also become 1-star purple gold commanders. But compared to the 3-star purple gold commanders, they were undoubtedly insignificant. A 1-star purple gold commander was equivalent to a low-level combat emperor. A 2-star purple gold commander was equivalent to a mid-level combat emperor. And a 3-star purple gold commander was equivalent to a high-level combat emperor. Let alone the Paradise of God, there were only a few high-level combat emperors in the entire high-rank hunting battlefield. The goddess of darkness from the demons, God Bless Queen was one of them. The Paradise of God was at a disadvantage in the high-rank hunting battlefield. Why? It was because they didn't have anyone who could control the situation. They didn't have any absolute experts, and they didn't have many people. For example, the demons had God Bless Queen, the barbarian race had Barbarian Bone King, and the Wuxia race had Blood Spear King. These three were collectively known as the three great combat emperors in the high-rank hunting battlefield. They were leaders, and with them around, the others could only run away. If they weren't fast enough, they would naturally die. The Paradise of God Bless Queen and Blood Spear King had accumulated to more than 10 quasi-emperors and a few combat emperors. If this continued, their overall strength would become weaker and weaker, and it would be very difficult for them to make a comeback. Now they finally had a leader. Yi Chen's existence could guarantee the Paradise of God's position and prevent them from becoming weaker. Chapter 1134. High-level battle emperor strength. This Yi Chen is truly powerful. In a private room of the restaurant, Martial King, Vermilion Bird King, and Divine Blade King were drinking. After hearing the news, Martial King couldn't help but praise. Vermilion Bird King nodded. Surpassing us in less than 10 years. I'm afraid most 9th layer Life and Death Realm Supremes couldn't do it when they were young. 9th layer Life and Death Realm Supremes were all geniuses, and monstrous geniuses. When they were young, they were undoubtedly the heaven's proud sons and daughters, the leaders of the young generation. However, compared to Yi Chen, they were a lot inferior. Only a few Supremes could compare to Yi Chen when they were young. Martial King, you can now attack the 7th layer without worry. Divine Blade King looked at Martial King and said, Yeah. Martial King smiled. As long as I condense the Emperor's mark, I can enter the 7th layer at any time. In fact, if Martial King had thought about it, he would have had absolute confidence in attacking the 7th layer a few years ago. However, he couldn't let go of his team, couldn't let go of the high-level members of God Paradise. Although he was only a mid-level battle emperor, and couldn't compare to the 3 battle emperors in the high-level hunting battlefield, with him here, he could at least stall for a bit. Divine Blade King and Vermilion Bird King were low-level battle emperors, and couldn't reach Martial King's level for the time being. If they encountered a high-level battle emperor and didn't escape in time, they would have a 90% chance of dying. Of course, the God Paradise had too many benefits. Rushing to the 7th life and death realm might not be a good thing. It should be known that once one succeeded, they would be teleported out of the God Paradise. From then on, they would no longer be able to enjoy the benefits of the Time Tower and Martial Tower. However, to Cheongwu King, this kind of benefit was dispensable because he had reached a real limit. Under the limit, it was impossible for him to make much progress in the Paradise of Gods. Everyone had their own limit. Some people had the strength of a high-level combat emperor before breaking through to the 7th layer of life and death realm. Some had the strength of a mid-level combat emperor. Some had the strength of a low-level combat emperor. Some had the strength of a pseudo-emperor. Some had the strength of the 8th floor of the God of War Pagoda. And some had the strength of the 7th floor. Once this limit was reached, even if one were to put in 100 times the effort, it would still be useless. Rather than wasting time on unrealistic fantasies, it would be better to wisely enter the 7th layer of life and death realm. After all, after becoming a titled monarch, one's perception would greatly increase, and the so-called limits would vanish like smoke in thin air. This would save one's time, and not waste it in vain. Congratulations, you're finally leaving the Paradise of Gods. The Vermilion Bird King raised his cup and took a sip. King Cheongwu shook his head and smiled. Don't make it sound like the Paradise of Gods is a barren land. No matter what, this is a sacred land for geniuses. Letting out a sigh, the Vermilion Bird King said, The Paradise of Gods is a sacred land for geniuses, but it is also a cage. I've forgotten the taste of adventure. Hearing these words, Cheongwu King and Divine Blade King turned silent. Indeed, they had forgotten the taste of adventure. Ever since they became members of the Paradise of Gods, they had basically never taken any risks. At most, they had joined the army and fought against enemies. It should be known that before entering the paradise of gods, all of them had rich experiences. Starry sky, secret realms, cosmic wonders, strange planets, cosmic beasts. There were many dangerous places in the universe, but there were even more wonderful places. Even if they spent their entire lives, they wouldn't be able to explore even 1/10,000th of the universe. However, since the paradise of gods had to conduct a hunt every once in a while, they couldn't afford to be delayed by taking risks. After all, there were some dangerous places that could last for decades or even centuries. Let's not talk about this. Soon, we'll also leave the paradise of gods. Right now, we should treasure our time here. Divine Blade King was very open-minded and raised his cup to toast. You're right, our lives are still long. The Vermilion Bird King smiled. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the senior members to enter the hunting tower. Yi Chun had already come out of the Tower of Time and met up with the other members of the Evil Hunter Squad. The Evil Hunter Squad was now the #1 squad in the Paradise of Gods. As for whether they were the #1 squad in the senior hunting battleground, it still needed time to test. Let's go. Let's go. The group of 7 entered the hunting tower. On the huge hunting planet, Yi Chun's group of 7 appeared in a dense forest. The dense forest of the hunting planet was very dangerous. Not only were there god insects, but there were also many man-eating plants, such as emperor flowers, bewitching plants, king-class man-eating trees, etc. Yuan Hong was a bit unlucky. He was almost dragged into the depths of the ground by a few black vines. It should be known that the ground of the hunting planet was very hard. A random handful of soil weighed tens of thousands of kilograms. If Yuan Hong was dragged into the depths of the ground, it would be difficult for him to escape. At the critical moment, Zhang Yining used Death Coil to entangle the black vines and pulled Yuan Hong back. That was really dangerous. Yuan Hong wiped his sweat. Regardless of whether it was on the hunting planet or in the outer universe, these black vines were very famous. They were called Death God Vines. They were even more famous than Emperor Flowers. It was said that a matured Death God Vine could entangle hundreds or even thousands of planets. Once someone entered its attack range, they would most likely die. Fortunately, there weren't many Death God Vines on the hunting planet. This was the second time the Evil Hunter Squad encountered one. Very quickly, 2 days passed. Within 2 days, the Evil Hunter Squad killed 9 normal god insects and 3 elite god insects. They had earned 75,000 Shinbi. We finally encountered a commander-class god insect. On the morning of the 3rd day, the Evil Hunter Squad encountered their first commander-class god insect. Commander-class god insects had the strength of a combat emperor. Of course, there were differences in strength. The weaker ones were equivalent to beginner combat emperors. The stronger ones might be equivalent to peak combat emperors. The Evil Hunter Squad encountered this commander-class god insect. It looked like a vicious hound, but it had 6 legs, 4 pairs of transparent wings, and hundreds of eyes on its forehead. It was truly a modified monster. The other members of the Evil Hunter Squad stopped at a distance. Facing a commander-class god insect, not only would they not be able to help, they might even die. Yi Chun alone was enough. Roar! The evil hound god insect flapped its 4 pairs of transparent wings and fiercely pounced over. The powerful airflow blew all the nearby trees into the sky, creating a scene of flying sand and rocks. When the evil hound god insect was less than 1,000 meters away from Yi Chun made his move. He unsheathed the dragon spring sword and slashed. Bang! The evil hound god insect was sent flying. In the next instant, its huge body started burning and turned into ashes. True Inferno Sword. So powerful. Lu Di opened his mouth. This sword art is too powerful. As expected of a peak 3rd revolution sword art. The 1,000-Arrow King could feel the power contained in this sword. A commander-class god insect was worth 30,000 Shinbi. The Evil Hunter Squad once again made a small profit. Of course, the one who contributed the most was Yi Chun, and the one who got the most was Yi Chun. On the 5th day, the Evil Hunter Squad had killed 18 ordinary god insects, 7 elite god insects, and 2 commander-class god insects. The total profit was 220,000 Shinbi. Yi Chun contributed 25 Shinbi, so he got about 80,000 Shinbi. At this rate of earning Shinbi, it wouldn't take many years for Yi Chun to have 1,000,000 Shinbi, which he could then exchange for a mid-level Heavenly King set. In terms of defense, a low-level Heavenly King set was equivalent to a top-level Heavenly King set, while a mid-level Heavenly King set was equivalent to an ordinary Emperor set. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that if a demi-emperor wore a mid-level Heavenly King set, most combat emperors wouldn't be able to do anything to him. However, 1,000,000 Shinbi was an astronomical figure for combat emperors. On the 6th day, the evil hunter squad finally encountered an enemy squad. This squad was from the evil god Paradise. They were called the Blood Sea Squad, and their captain was only a peaked demi-emperor. Run! After a few rounds of fighting, the members of the Blood Sea Squad started to flee frantically. Yi Chun was too powerful. He killed 3 of their members with a single slash. This was clearly the strength of a combat emperor, and not a beginner combat emperor, but at least a middle combat emperor. Chase, don't let them escape. Under the leadership of Yi Chun, the evil hunter squad chased after them with all their might. As time passed, Yi Chun killed another member of the Blood Sea Squad. The enemy was left with 3 members, and they had suffered heavy losses. Blood Spear King, save us. The captain of the Blood Sea Squad shouted urgently. In the distance, another squad appeared. This squad was famous in the high-grade hunting battlefield. It was the Blood Spear Squad from the Wuxia Paradise. Their captain was one of the 3 combat emperors in the high-grade hunting battlefield, Blood Spear King. Blood Spear King was the same as the God-blessed queen. He was the nightmare of the paradise of gods. In the past 200 years, he had killed countless demi-emperors, and even a few combat emperors. It's the captain of the Blood Sea Squad. One of the members of the Blood Spear Squad recognized the captain. The paradise of gods chasing them seems to be the Evil Hunter Squad. Since when did the Evil Hunter Squad become so powerful? Only 3 members of the Blood Sea Squad remain. Another member said doubtfully, "Let's go take a look." Blood Spear King increased his speed and rushed over. "Blood Sea King, what's going on?" Blood Spear King asked after meeting up with the captain. In the high-grade hunting battlefield, the demons, evil spirit race, and Wuxia race were allies. Humans, barbarians, and giants were allies. Allies naturally had to help each other, unless the enemy was too powerful. Blood Sea King said with a pale face. One of the members of the Evil Hunter Squad is a combat emperor. I suspect he has the strength of a mid-combat emperor. We lost 4 members. Blood Sea King's heart was bleeding. For members, this was not something that could grow up in a short period of time. Mid-combat emperor? Blood Spear King looked at the approaching Evil Hunter Squad. Ultimately, his gaze fell on Yi Chun. Only Yi Chun could give him a trace of threat, even though Yi Chun's cultivation base was only at the 5th layer of life and death realm. That's him. Blood Sea King's gaze also firmly stared at Yi Chun. Be careful. He is Blood Spear King, one of the 3 combat emperors in the high-grade hunting battlefield. Thousand Arrow King warned Yi Chun. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. Although Yi Chun was also a high-level combat emperor, his fame was not as great as Blood Spear King's. Chapter 1135. Nodding, Yi Chun naturally wouldn't look down on Blood Spear King. The gap between high-level battle emperors wasn't that big. Blood Spear King had already been a low-level battle emperor 200 years ago, reaching mid-level in 140 years, and high-level 50 years ago. In these 50 years, he clearly wouldn't have stopped improving. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed to stay in Wuxia God Paradise. With his talent, he would have long since broken through to the 7th layer. Of course, it couldn't be ruled out that Blood Spear King wanted to earn more Shinbi to exchange for a higher-level Heavenly King set. Above mid-level Heavenly King set, there were still high-level and peak-level Heavenly King set. The amount of Shinbi required was astronomical even for battle emperors. Blood Spear King, don't kill nameless people. State your name. A 2-meter-long blood-colored spear appeared in Blood Spear King's hand. The spearhead was like the fangs of a viper, emitting a gloomy and austere aura. You don't need to know my name, Yi Chun indifferently said while holding the dragon spring sword's hilt with his right hand. Arrogant. Then die. Blood Spear King didn't waste any more words with Yi Chen. He instantly entered the Anata Emperor realm, increasing his battle power by 5 times. Holding the blood-colored spear with both hands, he crazily stabbed out. In a blink of an eye, he had stabbed out at least several hundred times. The blood-colored spear shadows transformed into blood-colored vipers midway, pouncing toward Yi Chen. Blood Spear King's third revolution martial skill, 100 Vipers Flurry. Facing this move that relied on quantity to win, Yi Chen didn't dare to be negligent. He opened the Anata Emperor realm, and a layer of deep silver with a hint of gold radiance appeared on his body. He unsheathed the dragon spring sword and unleashed a true inferno sword chi. Crackle! Countless blood-colored vipers were incinerated like snow under the scorching sun. Without a sound, the raging sword chi broke through layer after layer of obstacles and appeared before Blood Spear King. Humph! Blood Spear King coldly snorted and shook his spear, creating a blood-colored spear flower. The next moment, a scorching shockwave blasted Blood Spear King dozens of li away. What? The captain of the Blood Sea battle team, Blood Sea King, widened his eyes in disbelief. The Blood Spear Monarch was a true advanced combat emperor, but he was sent flying in his first exchange with Yi Chen. Didn't this mean that Yi Chen was stronger than the Blood Spear Monarch? The Blood Spear King's face was ashen. He had not expected that Yi Chen's sword would have such a powerful aftershock. If not for his Heavenly King set, he would definitely have been injured. Mid-level Heavenly King set. Yi Chen squinted his eyes. Bloodlance Monarch wasn't wearing a low-class Heavenly King set, but a mid-class Heavenly King set. In terms of defense, a mid-class Heavenly King set was equivalent to an Emperor armor. It wasn't something that could be broken by ordinary people. Otherwise, Bloodlance Monarch wouldn't be unscathed. After a few months of training, Yi Chen's strength had reached the peak of a high-class combat emperor. Snake Dragon Flash. Relying on his mid-class Heavenly King set, the Blood Spear King attacked Yi Chen again. This time, he used a rank 3 martial art that was stronger than the 100 Snake Flurry. Snake Dragon Flash. A blood-colored spear light flashed, and a poisonous snake turned into a blood dragon, pouncing towards Yi Chen. Looking at its posture, its penetrating power seemed to be very strong. Yi Chen neither retreated nor dodged. He raised the dragon spring sword high above his head and slashed forcefully. The dazzling sword aura contained a trace of black, easily splitting the blood dragon. The Blood Spear King only had time to move a few meters to the side before he was hit by the sword aura. The True Inferno Sword was different from the True Inferno Sword. The True Inferno Sword's strength lay in its momentum, and if the first wave was barely blocked, the second wave would definitely not be able to block it. If the first wave could be completely blocked, the second wave would probably not be able to do anything to him. For example, although the Blood Spear King was wearing a mid-level Heavenly King set, with his power, he could also block the True Inferno Sword, and at most suffer some minor injuries. However, the Extreme Sun Essence was different. The Extreme Sun Essence was able to transform the essence of the sun into the most extreme power to attack the enemy. In terms of offense, it was undoubtedly more powerful than the True Inferno Sword. The sound of metal exploding was heard. Originally, the Blood Spear King's mid-class Heavenly King set had been refined into his body. However, after suffering such a huge attack, the Heavenly King set was suddenly revealed, shining with a golden red light. TSK Tisk, that's 1 million divine coins. Sima Fei's face revealed an envious expression. He wasn't surprised that Yi Chen could gain the upper hand. After all, he didn't think that Yi Chen was weaker than the Blood Spear King. They were both on the same level. A several li-long passage was blasted through the dense forest. At the end of the passage, the Blood Spear King stood up with his face covered in dirt. Under his feet was a huge pit. The soil had turned into sand and was emitting a blazing heat. The hunting star had 1/10 of the gravity of a white dwarf star. Although the objects here were not as abnormal as white dwarfs, with density not even 1/100th, they were still not that easy to destroy. The Blood Spear King only felt a small portion of the energy in his body being consumed. The majority of it was used to power the Heavenly King set. Blood got all. A red light flickered in his eyes as the Blood Spear King launched a soul attack at Yi Chen. A blood all formed from soul power shot out. Yi Chen naturally didn't fear the Blood Spear King's soul attack. In terms of battle power, his soul attack wasn't the least bit inferior, and was even more direct. Of course, soul attacks were rarely used in battles between life and death kings. Soul attacks consumed a lot of soul power, and the number of times they could be used was limited. When the soul power dropped to a certain level, it would affect one's state, and all aspects of one's constitution would decline. Therefore, although soul attack secret arts were extremely important, they were mostly left unused, and could only be used a few times a year. However, if one thought that soul attacks weren't used often, they wouldn't cultivate it. This was a very foolish action. Life and death kings didn't just need to be strong on the surface, but also in all other aspects. Simply speaking, one couldn't have any shortcomings, because they were the biggest flaws. Compared to soul defense, soul attacks were sometimes more important. Not only could they counteract the enemy's soul attack, they could also attack the enemy's soul. Puff! The invisible blood all was dispersed by a soul sword chi before it could even approach Yi Chen. The remnant sword chi ripples even radiated toward the Blood Spear King. The Blood Spear King let out a muffled groan, his face turning pale. Although he had already arranged 3 layers of soul defense, the sword chi ripples formed from soul power were still frightening. 2 of the 3 layers of soul defense had actually been broken through. If not for the Blood God All's counteracting effect, wouldn't it have easily cut through his soul defense? His guess wasn't wrong. The complete soul sword chi could indeed break through his soul defense. Just as the first soul sword chi was sent out, the second one came right after. Taking advantage of Blood Spear King's soul power being shaken, it ruthlessly slashed over. An earth-shattering sound resounded in Blood Spear King's mind as blood flowed out from his 7 apertures. His soul defense had been thoroughly broken through, and a huge sword scar had appeared in his sea of soul. The sword scar seemed to have been carved into his sea of soul, and was difficult to recover from. Go! Without any hesitation, Blood Spear King soared into the sky and fled into the distance. He was scared. Although Yi Chen couldn't break through his mid-level Heavenly King grade armor, he could heavily injure his soul with soul attacks. He was even more freakish than God Bless Queen. Seeing Blood Spear King fleeing in a sorry state, the others naturally followed without saying a word. However, among the 3 members of Blood Sea Battle Team, 2 were a step too slow, and were slashed into ashes by Yi Chen. Only Blood Sea King managed to escape alive. It was not that Yi Chen didn't want to chase after Blood Spear King. In a one-on-one situation, he could easily heavily injure the opponent's soul, and then slowly grind him to death. However, Blood Spear King still had 6 members, and 3 members of Blood Sea Battle Team. Once he consumed too much soul power, and was hit by a few soul attacks, the one in danger would be himself. In a group battle, one had to be cautious when using soul attacks. No one could use soul attacks limitlessly. Normally, life and death kings could only use soul attacks 3 times. Of course, if one cultivated a powerful soul attack secret art, they might only be able to use it once. After that, their soul power would be completely exhausted. Yi Chen's limit was 5 times. After 5 times, his soul power would fall below the warning line. As for using ordinary soul attacks, he might as well not use them at all. All in all, Yi Chen's soul power was 10 times that of the majority of life and death kings. This majority of life and death kings didn't include the members of True God Paradise. Which member of True God Paradise wasn't an elite among geniuses? Their soul power was equally powerful, and Yi Chen wouldn't be that much stronger than them. Killing 6 members of Blood Sea Battle Team, he obtained 900,000 divine coins. Adding the 220,000 from before, he had a total of 1,1220,000. Yi Chen's contribution was 50, so he could obtain 800,000 divine coins. Without a doubt, this was a huge harvest. In the future, it would be hard to encounter such a person. Once one's fame rose, the enemies would flee the moment they encountered you. Nobody was an idiot. Chapter 1136. By the time the 7 days of hunting ended, the Evil Hunter Squad's income had reached 1,650,000. After Blood Sea Squad, Yi Chen killed another 3 enemy members. 1,650,000 Shinbi plus the squad's rewards. The Evil Hunter squad's total income had reached 1,815,000 Shinbi. Yi Chen's contribution remained the same, 50 Shinbi, which meant that he would receive 1,300,000 Shinbi. Originally, Yi Chen didn't expect to earn 1 million Shinbi in one go, but he didn't expect to surpass it. This way, it was more than enough to exchange for a mid-level Heavenly King grade set. Although Myriad Arrow King and the other 5's income wasn't as frightening as Yi Chen's, they were already satisfied. Myriad Arrow King's contribution was a bit higher, so he received 100,000 Shinbi, while the others received around 80,000 Shinbi. This was much higher than what they had earned in the past few years. Of course, this was an exception. In the future, their income wouldn't be so high. After exiting the hunting tower, Yi Chen went straight to the exchange tower. On the second floor, Yi Chen chose the mid-level Heavenly King grade set he wanted. This was a blue-red set of equipment called the Iron Blood Dark Blue. It had a helmet, armor, arm guards, leg guards, boots and gloves. It had an extra helmet compared to the silver equipment set. As for its defensive power, even though it had not been refined into the body, its defensive power had already far surpassed the silver equipment set. It was about 10 times stronger than the silver equipment set. Once it was refined into the body, it would definitely be 10 times stronger. Every person could only exchange for one Heavenly King set. Yi Chen already had a silver set, and if he chose the Iron Blood Deep Blue set, he would have to give up on the silver set. Fortunately, it wouldn't be for nothing. The exchange tower would refund 80% of the divine coins, and the 300,000 divine coins he spent on the silver set would be refunded to 240,000. It's time to go back. Yi Chen believed that he had already made ample preparations. With his current battle power and defense, even if he encountered a 7th-layer life and death realm titled monarch, he would still be able to put up a fight. Most importantly, he still had Dijianghao and Phantom. Their defensive power was astonishing, able to withstand the continuous bombardment of a high-level battle emperor. Yi Chen, don't you want to go to the Black Tortoise Galaxy? Inside the hotel, the Evil Hunter battle team was discussing the upcoming year's matters as per usual. Yi Chen shook his head. No, I want to return to the living world I'm in. The demons and the evil spirit race have sealed off the exit there. Demons and evil spirits again. Demons and the evil spirit race were notorious in the universe. Because living worlds were different from living planets, there was no pattern to their distribution. Some were close to living star systems, while others were very far away from living star systems. It was obvious that the living world Yi Chen was in was very remote. Otherwise, it would not have become the target of the demons and the evil spirit race. How about we go with you? Zhang Yining suddenly said. That's a good idea. I can take the opportunity to see the outside world. The one who spoke was Yuan Hong. Yi Chen originally wanted to decline. After all, there was a certain degree of danger. However, he could not resist the enthusiasm of his teammates, so he agreed. Your Phantom is really not bad. It should cost at least 50 to 60 million. In the universe, a small battleship was traveling at high speed. The interior of the battleship was extremely luxurious. The 7 members of the Evil Hunter battle team were drinking in the hall. The 10,000 Arrows monarch and the others were not ordinary people. Each of them had a strong background, but they did not have much wealth. After all, they were not more than 500 years old, and the accumulation of wealth had just begun. Of course, if there was a sufficient reason, the families behind them would pay for them. This was the difference between having a background and not. It was not reflected in one's wealth. As a Thearch-level battleship, the Phantom was 9 times faster than a King-level battleship, and 3 times faster than a Heavenly King-level battleship. It would take about 4 months to return to Elysium. 1 year was enough for a round trip. During this time, Yi Chen continued to comprehend the Hidden Dragon Technique's 8th stance, all-powerful. He was very clear that the stronger he was, the less dangerous he would be. In one of the Phantom's training rooms, Yi Chen's left hand's index and middle fingers were pressed between his eyebrows. His right hand was extended forward. This stance was the all-powerful stance. The further one cultivated the hidden dragon spell, the harder it would be to understand its essence. Fortunately, Yi Chen already had some understanding of it. 1 month passed. Yi Chen's body emitted a trace of all-powerful aura. This aura was very mystical. The moment it appeared, Yi Chen became the center of the entire phantom. It was as if everything was revolving around him, breathing along with his joy. Although he did not release his soul power, Yi Chen could feel everything inside the phantom, including the actions of the 10,000 Arrows monarch and the others. They were all under his control. Strange. Why do I feel like I'm seeing Yi Chen? Yuan Hong was drinking in his room. In the darkness, he seemed to see Yi Chen in the training room. It was so clear, yet so blurry. It was very contradictory. The others had the same feeling, but they did not make a fuss. In the 2nd month, the all-powerful aura on Yi Chen's body became more and more intense, and his eyebrows became even more transparent. Yi Chen should be breaking through. 10,000 Arrows monarch guessed. At the end of the 3rd month, bang! The phantom suddenly shook violently, and a frightening aura burst out with Yi Chen as the center. Not good. 10,000 Arrows monarch and the others' expressions changed. They were not in the starry sky of the outside world, but in the void of the universe. Once the phantom collapsed, they would be torn apart by the void turbulence and assimilated. Only 8th layer life and death Shen Yuan could survive in the void. They were far from that level. Soon, the 6 left their rooms and entered the luxurious hall. Emperor-grade battleships shouldn't collapse so easily. Lu Wenjie said calmly. I wonder what Yi Chen is cultivating to cause such a huge commotion. Cultivating inside a puppet battleship was a normal thing, but they had never encountered such a situation. Bang! Another violent tremble occurred. In the next moment, the space outside distorted, and the phantom materialized in the starry sky with twinkling stars everywhere. Inside the training room, Yi Chen slowly opened his eyes. Countless stars were reflected in his pupils, looking unfathomable. Is this the selfless Emperor realm? At this moment, Yi Chen finally comprehended the 8th stance of Hidden Dragon Art, all-powerful realm. As soon as this stance was completed, Yi Chen naturally entered the 3rd stage of Selfless Emperor realm. The so-called Selfless Emperor realm was the realm where one could completely control one's potential like a high and mighty emperor. Every bit of one's body would be under one's control, without any blind spots. Apart from this, one would also have a keen observation of the surroundings. Huff! Sucking in a deep breath, Yi Chen felt his body brimming with explosive power. He lightly clenched his fist, and boundless power poured into the center of his fist, ready to burst out at any time. Chapter 1137. If one were to say that Yi Chen had the strength of a peak high-level battle emperor before, then now that he had broken through, he had the strength of a peak battle emperor. Not many 7th layer life and death realm titled monarchs could defeat him. Coupled with a mid-level heavenly king set, perhaps only 8th layer life and death realm titled monarchs could suppress him. In the entire cosmos, how many 8th layer life and death titled monarchs were there? Each and every one of them was an emperor-level existence. As for the 9th layer, they were all supremes. Pushing open the door of the training room, Yi Chen came to the hall. I'm sorry to have startled everyone. Yi Chen said apologetically. It's fine, the emperor-class warship is very safe. The myriad arrow monarch smiled and shook his head. Yi Chen, what did you break through? Zhang Yining asked curiously. Yi Chen said, it's the selfless emperor realm. No way. Lu Di had an exaggerated expression. You broke through to the selfless emperor realm so quickly. They knew a long time ago that Yi Chen could not open the Anatar realm, due to special reasons. But they did not expect Yi Chen to advance so quickly. It was simply 1,000 miles in a day. It was really infuriating to compare oneself with others. It is all thanks to the Hidden Dragon Art. Yi Chen smiled. This is also because your comprehension is high enough. Not bad. With your high comprehension ability, you can comprehend everything quickly. When your cultivation increases, it will be like adding wings to a tiger. At the end of the 4th month, we're here. Yi Chen steered Phantom back into space. Through the transparent crystal of the battleship, they could see a chaos vortex in the distance. That was the entrance to Elysium. Hee, this is a good opportunity to see how your hometown is different from other living worlds. Although they would be suppressed when they entered Elysium, they were not as strong as the other races. Their strength would not be greatly weakened, and their foundation would not be damaged. I'm afraid it won't be easy to get in. The vertical eye between Yi Chen's brows opened. Soon, he saw a large number of demon kings and evil kings on the two nearby planets. Apart from that, there was also a huge meteorite floating near the chaos vortex. There was also a team of demon kings guarding it. There were about 40,000 of them. Then let's charge in. Yuan Hong's eyes flashed with excitement. 12 million kilometers away from the chaotic vortex was a pale yellow planet. This planet had been transformed into a huge planetary fortress, and the inside was almost hollowed out. Of course, nothing unusual could be seen from the outside. Noiselessly, the 14 battleships approached. Each member of the Demon Hunter squad had 2 battleships. Yi Chen had a small Emperor Stage battleship and a large Emperor Stage battleship, while the Myriad Arrows Monarch and the others each had a small Heavenly King battleship and a large Heavenly King battleship. Generally speaking, a peak Heavenly King grade battleship's cannon could kill a 5th layer life and death king. If it could accumulate enough energy, it could even kill a 6th layer life and death king. A peak Emperor grade battleship was even more frightening. A casual cannon could heavily injure an ordinary 7th layer life and death king, and if it had enough energy, it could even kill in one shot. However, in reality, it was very difficult to achieve such a feat after all. The opponent could easily dodge it. 14 puppet battleships and 7 people quickly rushed toward the pale yellow planet. 5 million kilometers, 8 million kilometers, 5 million kilometers, 3 million kilometers. Not good. There's an enemy. The interior of the pale yellow planet seemed to have exploded. They hadn't expected that someone would ambush them and find their position without them noticing. Immediately, hundreds of demon kings rushed out. 2 million kilometers. 1 million kilometers. Kill. With a thought from Yi Chen, the 96 puppet cannons on the 2 Emperor-grade battleships simultaneously erupted with intense flames. Each of the puppet cannons on Emperor-grade battleships was shockingly expensive. They were engraved with countless arrays that could instantly extract the energy of Yuan stones, compress it infinitely, and then shoot it out. Without any exaggeration, a single cannon shot from an Emperor-grade battleship would consume at least 5,000 Yuan stones. A volley of cannon shots would consume around 500,000 Yuan stones. Ordinary people simply couldn't afford it. Myriad Arrows Monarch and the others also operated their Heavenly King-grade battleships and fiercely attacked the pale yellow planet. Apart from them, Yi Chen's group of 7 didn't stay idle either. Each of them unleashed their own trump cards. Yi Chen used the True Inferno Sword, and a scarlet sword chi shot out, growing larger and larger. Myriad Arrows Monarch used the myriad transformations, and millions of arrows covered the sky. Lu Di slashed out with his saber, and saber light swept out. Lu Wenjie wielded a blood-colored spear, and spear afterimages filled the air, one after another. Zhang Yinin's hand seals changed, and vines as thick as dragons wrapped around the pale yellow planet. Yuan Hong's body enlarged, and his entire body shone with golden light. He directly punched out. Sima Fei's claw energy was extremely sharp, and it could tear the sky and earth apart. No ordinary planet could withstand the power of his claw. Pop! The pale yellow planet was like a fragile bubble that suddenly burst. There was no shockwave of a planet's explosion, because this planet was completely destroyed, not detonated. The attack of Yi Chen's group was much more powerful than a planet's explosion, especially Yi Chen and his Emperor-grade battleship. The destructive force radiated in all directions, and the demon kings that had escaped from the pale yellow planet didn't even have the time to scream before they were caught up by the force and swept into nothingness. The others that had escaped fast enough also vomited blood incessantly, and their bodies were sent flying in all directions like meteors. This round of attack killed at least 18,000 demon kings. Most of the demon kings didn't have time to escape the pale yellow planet, and only a few survived. Haha, these are the demon's army. Yi Chen's group of 7 discovered that their battle achievements were increasing. It turned out that these demon kings were the demon's army. There were soldiers, centurions, minor lieutenants, and major lieutenants. Unfortunately, only those killed by themselves counted as their own battle achievements. Those killed by the puppet cannons didn't count, and those killed by the chaotic energy also didn't count. Bastard, who are you? A ball of black flame rushed over and stopped a million miles away. When the flame dissipated, a tall demon stood there, wearing black armor. Clearly, the fierce attack had shaken off his armor. While he was speaking, more and more demon kings gathered. These were the fish that escaped the net, and there were about 1,000 of them. All of them were in a sorry state, and their eyes were filled with anger and ferocity. The demon Scorpion Emperor was a 2-star general of the demons. He was ordered to lead 20,000 demons to guard Elysium. He could leave after 50 years, and other generals would replace him. As for the soldiers under him, they could only leave after 100 years. Although he was unwilling, he had no other choice. Fortunately, the demons would reward them with a certain amount of contribution points according to their ranks, so it wasn't a waste of effort. As a 2-star general, the demon Scorpion Emperor was naturally very powerful. He didn't even care about ordinary titled monarchs. In his eyes, Yi Chen's group of 7 were already dead. Kill! Yi Chen didn't pay attention to the demon Scorpion Emperor. He waved the dragon spring sword, and a dazzling sword chi burst out. The demon Scorpion Emperor's face was filled with astonishment as he turned into ashes. The hundreds of demon kings around him didn't manage to dodge in time, and all of them were turned into nothingness. Yi Chen's strength as a peak-level combat emperor had been fully displayed. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.